Next item on the agenda, number 9, capital projects, proposal by Ms. Sarah Davis.
Is it okay if I set up here, Bob, or do you want me to come down?
You're fine, thank you.
The Public Buildings Committee met and organized and went over our capital projects list. This capital projects list is something that we present to the public buildings yearly. Normally at budget time, and it's every potential issue that we have with our buildings, maintenance, new equipment, throughout the year. So normally at budget time, we present the capital projects spreadsheet, and the committee would then prioritize what projects they would want to do that year. We did not do that this year. I presented the capital projects sheet. But since there was funding for ARPA money, we were hoping to bite off a lot of these projects we have on our spreadsheet. I went back and pulled spreadsheets that Ms. Alana Roberts had presented to the committee before I got here, and I pulled one from 2015, 2016 that had a lot of the same projects that's still on mine. Although we've told the committee about it, there's still pending problems. They've been pushed down the road since 2015, 2016. At some point, we're going to have to do them. And we're going to have to do most all of them. I have listed the top 3 priorities, in my opinion, on the back page of the spreadsheet. And when we spoke with Evan about the grant potential using the ARPA funds for it, he requested that we make each project, each building a project. So we would take the Justice Center and we would make that one project, and we would repair everything in that building that needed to be. So the Justice Center is looking at a new roof, parking lot, HVAC units, new flooring, painting. These are just things that need to be done. We're not saying we have to do them all, but there's no way of knowing large projects like this, how much they're going to cost until the bids come back. Anything over $10,000 has to be bid. Anything over $50,000 has to have an architect or an engineer in charge of the project. So what we would do if we committed to do the Justice Center first, if we would hire an architect, the architect would sit down with myself, the office holders that are located in the Justice Center, as well as the Public Buildings Committee, and we would come up with a plan. We would put that out for bid and see where it came back. Do you have any questions?
Ms. Davis, I do.
Okay.
So when we met at the Public Buildings Committee, one of the questions that I spent, I guess, a long way around asking was something that one of our constituents brought up just a little while ago. Why are we going to spend $800 and something thousand to fix a roof that's still under warranty? Did you all reach out to our county attorney by chance to have him review the contract?
I did, and he actually called me back today. He looked over the roof, and I guess everybody's a little confused about what the warranty provides for us. The warranty provides if it's something that happens to the roof by the faulty membrane, they repair it. But like I said in the Public Buildings Committee meeting, we've had 154 leaks since 2019. 95% of those have been covered as repairs under the warranty. So they're having a roofing company come out and they're repairing that. There are a few that are not repaired under the warranty. That would be a screw that's punctured a hole in the membrane. We have 23 HVAC units on that roof, which have to have maintenance done on them 4 times a year. Plus, if they're down, we have maintenance guys up there. We have one hatch to get on the roof, so that's where you get up there, and you're going to have to travel to and from every HVAC unit. The warranty company have actually done a great job, and the warranty has really come in handy, because with 154 leaks, we would have been putting a lot of money in the building. We do have to repair the leaks that are made by us, foot traffic on the building or something else. But if it's just the membrane deteriorating, they take care of that.
You know, and I guess I hear that. The concern that I have is, you told us that on the night of the open house, there were buckets out because it was raining.
There was.
So maybe the warranty company is doing a great job and all, but it sounds like the quality of the construction of the roof to begin with just wasn't really where it should have been. And secondly, you know, it's a problem that has to be fixed. I understand it has to be fixed. I guess I just want to publicly say one more time, we put a lot of money into that building, you know, those years ago, for us to have to go back and spend almost $1 million to fix a roof. And, you know, it hurts a little bit, I'll be honest. So I just wanted that to be said.
Mr. Chairman. Sorry, do you have something?
No, you go.
Okay. So concerning the roof, you know, I dealt with flat roofs for many years when I worked for McDonald's, and one, they're aggravating as fire to keep that thing. And once I started thinking about the warranty thing, it made a little more sense to me. So basically, the decision that we're making is, I mean, we can wait 3 more years till the warranty runs out, right? Because the warranty doesn't say if you have so many repairs done, then you get a new roof.
No,
it doesn't say
that's
that.
not.
All it says is, if there's a leak, we fix it if it's a failure of the product. So we can replace it now with ARPA money, right, and not take it out of capital projects fund, or you can wait it out 3 more years and then take it out of capital projects fund once the warranty's out. But either way, we're going to be putting a roof on between now and 2025. It's just a matter of which pot of money we want to take it out of. So anyway, I know that's been a question for a lot of constituents of mine about the warranty. Well, why can't we get a new roof through the warranty? It's just not structured that way, unfortunately, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And the other thing there is, what's the cost of that roof going to be? Imagine what it would have been if we replaced it sooner, the longer you put it off, inflation's not doing us any favors.
Chairman, I've got a comment on that.
Mr. Kern.
Having been in the building business, connected with it for my career, not installation, but seeing this happen, one of the big problems I see is how many units of air conditioning is on that roof. You stated it on the roof.
23.
You want to do a roof and stay off of it. Now, this is going to be, you did, I did, who did it? We don't know who did it. Now, we're looking at redoing the air conditioning because it's been related to me that we're looking at a mold situation in some of the courtrooms and places there. So that definitely says, hey, you gotta do something about this air conditioning. I'm questioning, is there any feasible way that if we're gonna have to replace air conditioning, we're gonna have to replace the roof, that we can design those units to come off of that roof, to where we're not going up there all the time? And I don't know that, but we've got to consider something of that. If we're gonna have to redo it, but we are going to constantly have a problem. If I put the roof on there, put yourself in the roofer's place, and then you got heat and air or whoever going up there constantly on it, that's not a fix. We have to some way or another limit hitting on that roof all the time, no matter who's.
This estimate that we got for the roof, they actually added a walkway. This price included a walkway to each unit. Now, we're not gonna have police on the roof making sure that HVAC guys use the path, because if that unit they need to work on is right there, and they have to walk halfway around the building to use the walkway, they may cut across.
But let me interrupt you there. That was the roofing people saying that.
That's right.
If we look at the heat and HVAC people, I'm asking even like an architect to say, is there any feasible way that we can take those units off of that building?
So that's why we would meet with an architect
That's
and
why
get
we
a
need to
plan before we go. There may be a way,
Yeah.
but he would be the project coordinator and tell
That's
us
what
what we need to
I
do.
would like to hear is the possibility of doing a new roof and staying off of it as much as we can. Because you just increase the problems the more you go on. And to me, if you've got that many units on there, if you service them like this, I'm not surprised with that roof leaks.
The Public Buildings Committee approved to ask for funding to repair the projects that we have on our list. I think Ms. Marker's motion was 5.7. So that is why we're here today. We didn't prepare a resolution, hoping you'll pass it if you feel that this is something we need to take care of, and we would like to see the budget committee give their blessing.
Mistakes, or Mr.
Yes.
Chairman? So, you know, I voted against this in public buildings, and I've had a conversation with you, right, and I appreciate you being a resource to me, trying to help me understand some of these things. So I have several concerns still yet. One, there's projects here for the airport, there's projects for parks, those haven't been heard by the airport committee, they haven't been heard by the park committee.
The projects for the airport have been heard by the park committee the airport committee.
Okay.
And
Previously.
most of those, Josh, with the airport committee, those are grant covered, and most of those grants are 9 and 10 grants. So if we
Understood.
can,
This 115 has been approved, and the grants have been approved to, and this 115 is county match. The airport is currently out of compliance.
Understood.
Our last inspection, it was written up, we're grandfathered in because it was that way, but we are out of compliance. Now they're giving us time, and we've secured a grant to bring it into compliance.
So that was just one small point here. So here's my fear, right? I'm obviously not against upkeeping our property and our buildings. I want to do that. I think there are some things in here that are urgent and need to be taken care of right away, such as some leaking roofs. That's only gonna add costs later if we don't take care of it. I completely understand that. But if we allocate, we have a fiduciary responsibility as the budget committee, not only to the citizens of the county, but this commission, to ensure that we're appropriating money and spending money not only wisely, but transparently, and that we're doing it responsibly. And so, I mean, effectively, guys, what this does, if we give you $5.7 million, there's projects in here that, such as like enlarging the county clerk and register of deeds office that we don't have a quote for.
We don't.
Correct. So if we pass this $5.7 million, and then you decide, you and Mr. DeWitt decide that you want to enlarge those two offices, then you're already in the hole, right? Because those are projects that are not even included in the $5.7.
Okay, let me speak to that, if you don't mind. I just passed out a piece of paper that sort of details where we're standing on the ARPA COVID relief fund money. As you know, we got $11.03 million. We were acting under, when we first started looking at this, we put a committee together to take a look at where we need to spend it, which really at this point, we struggled with that. Let's just put it that way. When the feds said that we could take $10 million and put it in a less restricted fund because we consider that loss of revenue due to COVID for the county, we moved that $10 million away from the other $1.03 million. So actually we have two COVID relief funds, $10 million and $1.03. Now, in order to qualify to get part of that 1.03, you have to meet the strict requirements put out by the federal government. You have to have loss of revenue due to COVID. You have to have additional expenses in your payroll due to COVID, things like that. So what I've done is kind of pulled that out in this sheet that I've given you with the 10 million and the 1.03. So far, out of the 10 million, the commission has committed $2 million to match money for the CTE program at the schools, $1.5 million for the Hawkins County Fire Departments, including turnout gear and air bottles, $60,000 for Stanley Valley fire hydrants, $90,000 for VFW vans, $112,500 as a match for a grant for the Hawkins County Health Department. And our fee for our consultants at $275,000. They're working on this, and they're also working on the TDEC money for the water. So committed to date, $4,037,500. And Eric can speak to this if I'm not saying this right. But out of the $10 million, we have remaining $5,962,500 to distribute. Now, requests that would fit that money, right now, we're looking at $16,581,492. So if we spend it all, we're in the hole $10.618 million. All of those requests, I would dearly love to fund, but we have to make some decisions, folks, and you are the ones that are going to make the decisions at this point as to where that money is going to be allocated. The Humane Society has asked for $880,000, just as an example. There are lots of other requests in here, including the 5.728 for Hawkins County buildings. Now, you can look at that a lot of different ways, and you can cut the pie as many times as you want to, and I've cut it 900,000 different ways and tried to get it to work. But if you look at it, that we've got needs here in the county with buildings that total 5.728 estimated. We don't have to spend that 5.728 on that. We can cut it up a different way if you want to. But you look at the back sheet of this, and immediate issues are 2.809 plus some other things that probably need to go in that immediate issues. So we've got some work to do trying to decide where this money's going to go. There's lots of good causes out there that want it. Do we take some of this money, fix our buildings before prices go up, and get that under control so that it frees up capital money down the road with taxes? Or do we fund all of these requests and ignore our buildings once again, kick it down the road, make it more expensive, and have to raise taxes to cover that? We've got some hard choices, folks. So, Commissioner Gillum, I agree with you. I mean, there are things in here that may not need to be done. But where do we draw the line? And who else? How can we equitably distribute the rest of this money?
Absolutely. Well, that's a question we've got to answer, but just addressing this, I'm not against every project in this packet, to be clear. That's what I want to say. But I am opposed to setting aside the remaining of ARPA money to be used on capital projects for county buildings that are in this all together like this. But there are some projects in here that I do support. Yes, we just need to decide which ones it is. And I guess the question is which committee or which person is going to prioritize that on, I mean, I guess maybe it's us today.
It's come down to the budget committee is going to have to approve it.
No,
I'd like to recognize Mr. Kerr. Thank you.
I would like to add this, and please don't feel that I'm the source of information. I just want to say this, and correct me if I'm wrong, what the state demands that this county do, and I have been told, and they stand corrected on it, that we are responsible for a jail and a library. But they do control that. My concern is that the Justice Center and all that falls under the jail. And that's our obligation. I do not want us to sit and wait until we have enough problems in the Justice Center that the state wants to walk in and say, we're gonna fix it for you at our price. When we have the funds right now that we can, I'm not saying do all of it, I'm just saying we need to look at the Justice Center, we need to look at the annex building. You know, we're looking at 2.8. And that's in our own setting here. The others, we may have to take looks at. But I think that the Justice Center, the three that's on the back, is very important at this time.
Commissioner Palmer.
Mr. Chairman, in line with what Mayor DeWitt and Mr. Kerner has said, you know, we have the funds available right now to get started on some of this. Instead of waiting and potentially kicking it down the road again, I make a motion that the budget committee go ahead and revert the $2,809,984.54 onto the board commission for funding.
Now, Mr. Palmer, I need to remind you that that does not include any architect or engineering fee. And
Before we do that, can we get a second so we get it on the
Sorry.
floor? I'll second that. Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Go ahead, Ms. Davis.
It doesn't include any architect or engineering fee, and it does not include any renovations to the annex building. When I say renovations, I'm talking about enlarging the Register of Deeds office. All the office holders would like for they all have windows at their offices, and you open a door and enter that door. So now you're in their office. They would like to have those doors closed off to the public and all the public do business down a hallway. And those windows that are in their offices now become a counter. There wouldn't be a lot of structural changes, just the window area would be a window that you could do business at.
Do you have a cost for that?
We don't. We have no cost. We need to hire an architect or an engineer to take a look at it. And at that point, they give you costs, put it out for bid. And then you see where the bids fall. I've been at bid openings that went from 1.5 million to $400,000. Isn't that correct, Eric? We were at a bid opening. Eric and I just about fell in the floor because the first bid was 1.5. The winning bid was around 400,000.
So what do we need to do to get that started? You know, all I've heard is we need to get started, we need to get started.
Right.
So
I would like for some money to be set aside for these projects, hire an architect, see where we're at with this, see where the bids come in, work with the Public Buildings Committee to see what projects they think that need to be done inside of each building, and see where the dust settles, see how much money we're looking at.
I think what you're saying is you put a hard cap on that, some projects are gonna get
The
cut.
reason I said that, because that's the total. issue.
Right, right. I understand.
Right, that's without architect fees, that's a 2-year-old fee.
Can we get the architect fee then before we move on, but even discuss what we're gonna spend money?
You can't, Mr. Farmer, because most of the time, they charge you 10% of the total project. So you don't know until the bids come back. That's the hard part about this, is everything over $10,000 has to be put out for bid.
The thing, lady, that I would say is that, number one, we're gonna have the architect
Yeah.
to start this project. And then that's when we'll have concrete figures and the bids, but we need to react to get the architect on board, because you're looking, in my estimation, if we started today, we're probably looking at some of this running as much as 2 years down the road now. So the time is of essence to me. And I just feel we need to go ahead.
Just a reminder, we have to have the money committed by December of 2024 and spent by December of 2026. So we have to move forward with a lot of this stuff. And again, I don't have a vote in this anymore. I've tried to massage these figures around as many times as I could in my sleep and everything else. You know, if we would decide to set aside, you know, maybe $4.5 million for county buildings, we could take what's left and fund part of what the sheriff's department cars are being asked for. We could fund part of what the EMA is asking for. We could fund part of what the Humane Society is asking for, and still come out right under $10 million. It's tight. It's going to be tight. I told you that from the start. It's going to be real tight. There are other organizations that have asked, and again, there are worthy organizations on that list that will fit under that 1.03 million. But they're gonna have to come up with specifics and a specific way that they're gonna follow up to make sure that all the paperwork on that is done. You know how the government is. They're not going to just, we can't just hand them that money without a way to follow up. That's just my 2 cents worth, and you all can take it for what it's worth.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Mr. Reeves.
the motion that Commissioner Palmer made for the $2.8 million roughly, you said, well, that doesn't include the architect fee. If we set aside that amount plus 10%, that's roughly what the architect fee is. I mean, would that get the ball rolling for ultimately what we're looking to do, or?
That doesn't include any of the renovations in the annex building. That's the annex building. That's just new windows, new roof, new flooring,
So-
new HVAC units. We have 42 units in the annex building and the courthouse. Now, the courthouse was remodeled in 2012, so those units are fairly new. But most of the units in the annex building are 19 years old. So you gotta know, those aren't gonna last much longer. They've been doing well. We've not repaired a lot. But just a couple of months ago, is Jim Shank still in here? We had to replace was that 2 months ago we replaced?
It wasn't long ago, Dad replaced.
2-3 months ago, we had to replace the HVAC unit in his office, and that was $7,000 for one unit. I'm just making you aware of the potential for replacing a lot of units here if they just start going down.
So do we just need to make a motion to hire an architect and get some hard numbers?
So from what I'm understanding, okay, so Ms. Davis, clarify for me. We can't hire an architect to get figures until we've allocated the money for the project first, because that don't make a lot of sense.
We need to at least allocate money for the architect and be committed to put some money toward it. Right now, when I get an estimate from vendors, they say that they would hold this estimate for 10 days. It used to be 30. Or they would hold it for 9 if it was gonna be out for bid. Right now, my estimates have 10 days.
So, okay.
The prices are changing so quickly.
Let me go on the record here and say, I voted for this capital projects plan to come out of public buildings because I felt like it needed to be heard by the budget committee. Okay, sometimes I vote for things, not necessarily because I agree with it, but because I feel like they need to be heard. I don't know that I'm ready to allocate $5.7 million, right? I don't feel completely comfortable with that whole amount. What I would like to see is for us to take care of some of the lion's share of those projects that our buildings need, that they're in desperate need of, which what I understood was the $2.8 million that Mr. Palmer made this resolution for. Now, with all that said, if that's what we need to do to move forward, let's go ahead and amend the resolution to factor in whatever, do we need to put in a cost for what the architect or engineer may charge us to do whatever figuring they need to do? Do we need to just add that to the resolution, or, I don't know. I mean, I think we're kind of in a place where we are trying to move forward with it. It's just, I don't know that, I personally, and from what I understand from Mr. Palmer's resolution, he's not either. We're not really in favor of the whole 5.7 million.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Adams.
with that said, I respectfully ask Commissioner Palmer to withdraw that and send this back to the Buildings Committee and let them do their job. Rate this on what needs to be done, and it brought back to us for approval.
Well, it was rated on, 1, 2, and 3, and then, I'll withdraw, and we'll go back to the public buildings, and, waste more time on this, because the biggest thing is, and this is my personal preference, if we're gonna be presented with cost, then I would like to have an architect be the full cost that is presented to us. What do we need to do to get this moving?
So.
Am I wrong? There's not a resolution into that.
There's not, that's not a resolution.
So he doesn't have to, okay.
It's not. So the point, to the next point is $5.7 million, if, let's say that we adopted, the entire project, $5.7 million is not gonna cover this, because a lot of the quotes that you got was from 2020.
Exactly.
But, I mean, $5.7 million probably is not gonna touch this project proposal. And that's why I feel like we need to, let's do a little triage here and figure out what needs to be done, which is why I was in support of it coming out of public buildings. But to Commissioner Allen's point, I'm fine coming back together as a public buildings committee and, going through and start, knock some of the things off. I would love to say we can fund everything. But the fact of the matter is, y'all, and we do have a humane society that's here that is working really hard to control the animal population of our county, and it is costing, it would cost us tremendously more to hire somebody to do that than for them to do it at what rate they do. A lot of them being volunteers. So I want to figure out, I don't know, and I'll just tell y'all, this is off topic a little bit, so call from the recorder if you want to. I don't know that we can buy you a whole building, but I don't know that we can't do something. So I want to make sure that whatever we're doing here is going to be what's best for the county based on our needs, and not based on, I don't know how to say it other than just say it, based on, I'd love to say our polish, we could polish up the buildings all we could. I feel like we need to take care of our needs, let's triage a little bit. So with that said, Commissioner Palmer, your resolution's still on the floor. The resolution to allocate. Your motion, to allocate $2.8 million for this project. So the motion is still on the floor.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Palmer has withdrawn his motion, so we're kind of back to the agenda. Mr. Klontz?
May I speak, sir?
Yes, sir.
As a county commissioner, why don't you consider a commission, a meeting as a whole for discussion of all these issues? Not a formal committee, monthly meeting, but a discussion where every commissioner can come and sit down and say, hey, what are we going to give to the Humane Society? What are we going to give to the building?
And Mr. Clonson, I appreciate that idea. As the budget chair and as just a commissioner, I'm a little bit leery of allocating money for a special call meeting to discuss something that we can do in a committee.
Yeah, I'll be willing to serve.
But if you'd be willing to come to the Public Buildings Committee to help us, I am not in favor of allocating more money to spend for commissioners to come to a meeting that we can already handle.
I'm not in, I volunteer.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I recommend that this go back to the Buildings Committee and let them prioritize, do their homework, then Mr. Palmer re-present it to us, we'll act on it accordingly.
With the other fees needed to at least get the start on our 3 top priorities.
All right, so that pretty much settles, I think, the conversation about the capital project.
Oh, there's a question in the audience.
Yeah, thank you so much. Listening to all this, I'm just trying to figure out what an architect has to do. I keep hearing flooring and roofs and things that don't require architects. So wondering, except the only thing I hear is a redesign of some of the office space so that there's.
Let me answer that. We're required by state law, if it goes over $50,000, we have to have an architect as a project manager.
So even like putting on a new roof
Yes.
requires an architect?
Yes.
If you were to divide up all of these projects as individual projects under that could fit under 50,000, it might reduce the architect.
There's nothing that's gonna fit under 50,000 with today's prices. I mean, I'm telling you, we've tried every way.
Okay, thank you.
Eric.
So, I'd like to ask a question. On the 5-year, proposed capital projects, that's 2.89, is that, or 2.8, is that the 3 priorities that we're looking at now?
It is, without any
So we
renovations.
keep saying we're gonna
to
spend 6, 5, 6, or whatever. I mean, we've already got something here that we're looking at, that we need to spend the money on. And that being the Justice Center, the annex building, and the courthouse building. So we have started as a public safety to do that, or building rather, no. I mean,
I think what's confusing is he made a motion to set aside 2.8, and then
that's right.
and then they said that Ms. Davis said that didn't include any fees and whatnot, and then Mr. DeWitt said threw out a $4 and $4.5 million figure, which is not even in the packet we received. I'm very confused about what amount of money we need to do these projects in this packet, and what money we set aside. If we give you $4 million, what projects are we doing? How do I go back to people who voted for me and I said I was going to be a fiscal conservative, and I said, well, I just gave them $4 million to do some county projects on buildings? I can't even get paid to do that.
It's on the next to last page. The three that we're talking about here is on the next to last page of this capital projects plan, and then the breakdown goes into each subcategory on the first page of what that is. And I agree that there's some of these, like especially the Justice Center, looking at those the state's minimum requirements of what we are obligated to do. You know, that's what we first I feel like needs to take care of. And if that's the case, is there a number or a figure? I know Mayor DeWitt said around 4.5. If we did the 2.8 with 10% to set aside to allocate for this project, would that allow us to get that started? 10% being for the architect fee.
We could put the Justice Center out for bid and see where it come back.
The commission would just have to consider to be flexible regarding how those bids actually would look when they were received. But that would definitely get the ball rolling.
I make a motion that we go ahead and send that to amend that. Do we have a motion?
There's no motion.
Okay. I make the motion, we go ahead and send that to the full commission so that we can get this ball rolling for the Justice Center alone, not setting aside the whole 5.7, but to give us some ability to get started on some of this of what we need to do.
Commissioner Gibson, can you define that motion, just so
Clarity a little bit on
The
that.
amount of money.
And the amount,
10% on that. Is that what you did?
10%, which I figured $90,982. $3,090,982. That's the number we got plus 10%. To go ahead and allocate that money towards these three projects, or I guess it would really just be that the Justice Center project would be the first that we would look at. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to allocate $3,090,982 for the Justice Center, right?
Correct.
Okay, which includes a 10%. That figure includes a 10% fee for architectural or engineering study. All right, is there a second?
Just for clarity.
That's the 309, it's where I got that number from,
Okay,
including all of those.
so
Justice Center Annex building.
And also realize that it's past resolution submission deadline for October.
yes.
Gotcha.
So for the Justice Center Annex building and courthouse buildings, those are items 1, 2, and 3 in the packet, on the second to last page. $3,090,982, correct?
Correct.
All right. Is there a second?
I second it.
Mr. Kern has seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion about this resolution? Mr. Palmer?
That's what I asked if we can add the 10% on top of that.
We got there. We're back to the same
We're
place.
just working, you're okay, you're okay.
Well done, Mr. Palmer. Thank you, sir.
For clarification, Mr. Chairman, does this include the $220,000 pavement parking lot?
It's 331,000, I believe. That's 331,000. That's the library. Oh, 331,000.
That's the library, we're looking at.
That page,
That includes, repaving and stopping the parking lot, which is 331,905. That'd be item number 1 under Justice Center. Is that correct, Mr. Gibson? Is that your
When
intent?
we get to that, the intent was to make the motion to go ahead and proceed with all the improvements as needed for the Justice Center. Which I believe that came in total to 2.1, yes. For these, if these 3 were itemized by the Public Buildings Committee as the top 3 that we have need for, so that we can get this process started before, like I said, it's been said multiple times, inflation is not going to be our friend on this, so we need to kind of get that ball rolling, as Mr. Palmer said.
Any other discussion from the committee? Madam Deanne?
I will say one thing, and then I'll be done. I've taken up more time. The only project that I would have questions about in terms of the Justice Center would be paving the parking lot. I think it might be worth looking at.
Go up there.
Have you been up there?
No, I'm not against paving the parking lot.
Go up
Calm
there.
down. I'm not against paving the parking lot. What I was going to say is, do we need as much parking lot as we have? Would it be worth?
Yes.
We do. Okay.
On a court day, we do.
On a court day. Okay. All right.
Which is
Well,
it.
I trust. Listen, you guys are there more than I am, but I was just curious on that.
No, it's a good question, but I can tell you that, yes.
We have one comment.
Two questions.
Yes, ma'am.
If you allocate all this money and you don't need all of this money, number one, what happens to the balance of it? So say you allocate 3.whatever million and you only need 2,800,000, what happens to the balance of it?
So typically, ma'am, to be honest with you, I can't see not using all the money for the project that they have because the quotes that they've gotten are old, so I don't know
I
that it's
started
gonna be
thinking
enough.
$80,000 per year.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I think that's-
So if the project would come in under the allocation, Ms. Davis, you might correct me, but the money would remain in the general fund, it would just come in under allocation, it wouldn't just get spent.
And whatever happened with the consulting firm that was paying all that money, and we haven't heard a word about if they've come up with anything.
The consulting firm for
The rest of the COVID money?
Yes, ma'am.
275,000 spent?
We have, they are working on the wastewater project as well as the ARPA COVID money. I haven't heard anything back from them, but
We just had a meeting with them on the 13th to discuss the TDEC ARPA money. Had a very extensive meeting with all of the water utility districts. So those monies are in the separate fund, they're in ARPA fund, there is no appropriations in there other than what you approve, so nothing can be spent outside of what this committee approves.
And I will also add that we came out on the best end of that because we had figured we would need to spend ARPA money as matching money for the TDEC
Yes.
money for the water departments, but they're gonna be responsible for their own matching money.
so, before we get too far into the weeds, we have a motion on the floor. I hope I don't have to restate it because I don't know that.
$3,090,982, which is the 3 projects allocated on the back, plus 10% for the architect fee.
All right, that's the motion on the floor. Is there any other discussion about that motion? Seeing none, I will ask for a roll call vote on this, motion.
Okay. Josh Gillum,
Yes.
John Gibson,
Yes.
Robbie Palmer,
Yes.
Danny Alves,
No.
Nancy Barker,
Yes.
Jason Roach,
Yes.
Tom Kern.
yes.
Mr. Chairman, we have 6 yes, 1 no, motion carries.
Now, let me say before you all walk out, that does not preclude giving money to the Humane Society.
I don't know.
Well, I just wanted to say that before you left.
Attitude,
Please don't spread around that we have taken your money because we have not decided.
I will not. I will
Okay.
not. I'm
and tell the two that just went out the same thing.
All right, moving on.